welcome to another episode of Beautiful Subconscious. I'm your host, Shell Marie, and currently right now I am recording this episode from the beautiful island of Bali. It has been an incredible week in so many different ways, and I am going to share that through this episode today. This episode is inspired by a story I posted only yesterday, where I'm not video recording this, one, because I didn't bring my iPhone stand, but two, the way I'm looking right now is pretty much the way I probably sound. And it's because this week I have been humbled by my health. Let me tell you, from pretty much the day I landed, I started to have this eye infection take place. Not that I knew at the time. My beautiful Bali doctor, who I ended up calling, said that it was a viral infection that then also that turned bacterial. Then I've got the flu and then Bali belly. Tell me you don't feel your most glamorous when you are experiencing Bali belly. Holy shit. I was crying on the toilet. I'm like, what else do you want from me? I'm so surrendered. I'm so humbled. You got me. This is me. And so it's been a journey since, and it's not coincidental and it's not by no reasons. And I'm going to share that with you today. So why I'm here in Bali, I guess, is a great place to start. Is I'm part of an incredible business course, a business group, and each quarter we have an immersion that we take part in. And this one specifically was the life immersion. And what I love about this business group that I'm in is my mentor is so passionate about really succeeding in not just business, but every area of our lives. Everything is so interconnected. Business, we can achieve all the things in business, but if we're feeling shit within ourselves or our health or in our relationships or our relationship with money, or we're not feeling like we are stable enough in success, or we feel unworthy underneath the accolades, then is it really worth it? He really showcased and really honors the need to give energy and priority to every piece of your life wheel pie. And it might be hard all at once at the one time, but it's just understanding that they're all very needed and you're all very deserving to have every part be as fruitful and fulfilling as they possibly can be, with the openness to allow it to grow, but then also the compassion to know that there'll be ebbs and flows. And so this immersion is called Life Immersion. And this is where we were understanding what's playing out behind the scenes, which obviously I live for this stuff. This is my jam. I love understanding human behavior. I love understanding the mind. I love understanding subconscious blocks. And I love hearing it in new ways other than what I have become specialized in and accustomed to. And I will never kid myself in thinking that I know it all in this space. I know a lot, don't get me wrong. I know so much, so extensively, and I am so proud of it. And I love sharing this and changing lives with my clients. But I love also knowing that there could be and will be other ways to hear it and more ways to learn in really mastering our subconscious and what's playing underneath. And so I was freaking pumped for this immersion, and it was an incredible experience. It showed me so many different ways in how I'm blocking myself and how unworthiness is showing up and still showing up. And, when we start this journey, that's definitely one that comes up pretty quick. I'm not good enough or I'm unworthy, but just the ways it kind of weaves in different qualities of the unworthiness can differ. And there's a lot that has been neutralized and worked through and overcome. But nothing's linear. So there's ways that it'll show up in different aspects. And it was really beautiful and powerful to explore that over the 4 days. And so I went in with the intention, and this has been on my mind for about a month now. It's just kind of coming up, and look, me being me and the person and the industry that I'm in and the way that I just believe so deeply about quantum physics and things are taking place before your conscious mind plays out. But I'm going to put this concept in your sphere, and you either take it or you just let it run through to the keeper. Either way, I'm saying it. But when you sign up for things, when you are putting that intention out, and we're actually going to be digging deeper into this so it works, you are like already spiritually, subconsciously contracting. It's like a contract of, all right, cool. I am willing to allow whatever's coming through for this to come on out in service of me to get what is in my highest good as best as I will allow from this experience. So let me reword that. So when I signed up for this business course, or when I knew that I paid for this flight to come to Bali for this life immersion, it's like leading up to it, I was starting to feel like this energy of like, I just don't want to fight what's for me anymore. And, you may have had some other modalities. Like I know what happens with breath work, and I definitely know what happens with my kinesiology work. Then the quantum aspect of it is even before the physical session's about to take place, my clients are already starting to experience energetic shifts, or emotions are starting to come on up, or they're feeling irritated or upset or maybe elated. It's like the anticipation, like the energy is already starting to shift because it knows it's about to be put in this container where it's going to be transformed in the way that has been intended, or way that the heart seeks. And so knowing that this life immersion, we were going into it to deep dive further into areas that I've got my blind spots in, and then, some deep suppressed emotions and fears that I love to be in a space where I can be held for that to come through. I knew that was coming up. And so leading up to it, I was just this element of like, I just don't want to fight what's for me anymore. And it's obviously not something that you consciously choose to do, but it's funny how subconsciously you do it anyway. And the subconscious will always dictate the conscious. And so leading up to this immersion, that was my intention. I don't want to fight what's made for me and what was meant for me. My success in business, in relationships, in wealth, in health, anything. I just don't want to fight it. And why would I fight it? It's because, underneath there's so many things that came to the surface, but generally it's this space of unworthiness. Like I'm unworthy for myself to move forward in that direction. I'm unworthy for things to be easy. I'm unworthy to drop the striving, and because the striving has given me a sense of identity. So there are so many things that can come through when that happens. So when you set a command, or when you put out an intention that you can really feel activate some sort of emotion within you. For me, I just don't want to fight what's meant for me anymore. Like when I really say that, I can feel my eyes, like when I drop in and say, like, I really don't want to fight what's for me anymore. I can feel my eyes start to water. I can feel this heaviness in my chest, and I can just feel this, this like release in my gut. And isn't that crazy that I got an eye infection? Like these tears that I've been holding back, this heaviness of my heart. It's like this flu was the physical manifestation of it. And then, my gut just being like, yes, like the tension in my gut, like it's just manifested into Bali belly. Like these are no coincidence. Like the physical manifestations is one of the final manifestations of what it is that you're putting out into the world. So when you put a command out, or when you set an intention and say it, and you feel that emotion behind it, or emotions behind it, it's like you picked up your phone and you started to dial a number. Like, do you remember when you've like picked up a phone and it's kind of built up some courage? You're like, no, I'm just going to call. And you have that, nervous anticipation of like, oh my God, are they going to pick up, or that outcome, or what it is that you're wanting to say on the phone? But it's taken that bit of like, no, that's what I want. Like, this is very much the same. Like a telephone, like firstly, has anyone ever looked up how a telephone works? Like when you really think about a telephone, I know this is just regressing to the side, like it is mind blowing. If you hear that music, that is, I think, some sort of Bali pool party that's taking place right now. Amazing. But when you think about a telephone, have we actually ever, it's part of our everyday life, but do we actually really know how it takes place? what happens, I actually just looked it up and thought, like, like, how does one actually work? We get the concept a little bit, but the sound waves are carried to a thin metal disc inside the phone called a diaphragm and are converted into electrical energy. The electrical energy travels over wire to another telephone and is converted from electrical energy to sound waves again, which can be heard by someone on the other end of the phone. So that's talking about, like, I think landlines to landlines going down the wiring. The next definition I got is a microchip in the phone modulates, in brackets, or varies a radio wave using the electrical signal. The electrical wave travels through the air to a nearby cell tower. The tower sends your voice to the person you are calling, and the process is reversed so that the person on the other end can hear your voice. Like, doesn't that just blow your mind? Like, how your radio waves travels through the air to a nearby cell tower. Like, imagine pitching that business idea. Like, yeah, we're just going to, like, when someone speaks, we're just going to, like, capture that, their vocal frequencies through a microchip, and we're just going to carry it down a radio wave, and we'll just put a cell tower there. So you just send it our way and then we'll send it across to them. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, isn't that mind blowing? That blew my freaking mind. But yet that's exactly like the work that I do. And I think when you really break it down to people, they're like, shit, that sounds a little like too far fetched that it's probably not true. It's exactly like the phone, but yet because we feel it and we use it and we just see the outcomes, we don't question it because you get the outcomes. It's exactly like my work. So many of my clients are like, we just don't need to know how it happens necessarily or have the step-by-step understanding or definition. I just know it worked, and I've seen the transformation that it's made in my life, my family's life. I now know how much I can feel the difference in the sessions, through the sessions, outside the sessions. I'm like, it's exactly this. It's just we emit our own radio frequencies, and we are feeding that into each other. We are transmitting that to one another, to our nature around us, our energy around us. And, you can even go as far as we are transmitting that in time, back in time, as far as, like, everything is energy. Everything is energy. Energy is always interconnected. So every style of energy is all interconnected. Everything is one. So that oneness, you let your imagination be what limits or expands your definition of oneness and how far it goes. So you're punching out a number, aka you're putting out a command. I don't want to fight what's meant for me anymore. And simultaneously, as you're coding in that very specific command, you are also starting to activate things in your subconscious, because your subconscious is like, okay, well, this is what she wants to achieve or accomplish or live. This is how she wants to live now. And it's feeling the energetic shifts. And as it's feeling the energetic shifts of that command, everything's starting to, like, formulate its place. It's starting to activate triggers embedded in your subconscious that have been carrying, that has been distorting the way that you've been showing up and behaving. It's activating these behind the scenes programming to trigger a response that it's been relying upon to keep you safe to this point. So everything that I have been, I guess, fighting against is now coming up to the surface. It's like, all right, well, you don't want to fight anymore. We're going to have to show you what you've been fighting or how you've been fighting and how deeply it's been occurring to then have such a drastic physical manifestation. And so this whole immersion, it was pretty incredible because a lot of people were surfacing up so many things. And I really understand that this isn't everybody's every day. Like, understanding their emotions or their back history of fears and what they're really saying behind the scenes in their subconscious, they generally don't swim in it as much as what I love to, because this is my line of work. I live for this. I genuinely have a passion for understanding human behavior, subconscious mastery, and moving out what's in the way to really go after what I want. But I'm also aware there's areas in my life that I'm like, oh, there's like that. There's still blocks there that I, on my own, are needing support to shift. And when that happened, my gosh, this is what's happening. This is what's happening right now with it. So I understand that this isn't people's usual spaces to play in, but then they're coming out and they're like they're breaking out in flus, or they're rolling their ankle, or they are, hurting their arm, or like their shoulder has got all this tension. It's like, again, you are putting a command out there just to kind of look what's underneath the surface. And not only has this unconscious fear-based belief been underneath there for so long, but it's grown and manifested to affect the way that you mentally view things, or your mental outlook on specific things, which then has an effect on your emotional body. So you think things and then you feel a particular way about it, whether it's contracting or protecting or withdrawing or feeling guarded or feeling like you're about to pounce, or you're feeling this tension, or you're feeling open and expansive. But then from your emotional body, it does have that effect on your physiology, because then your muscles start to contract. The systems of your body start to contract, because all of a sudden the flow of energy that they would generally have to have them operate is now being prioritized in other areas, because your mind believes that there's a fear, so there's a threat. Your emotions are confirming that, because you're feeling anxious or irritated or offbeat. And then so your physiology is responding that way. Energy is going to be in this I'm about ready for any threat, which then has an effect on your physical body. Because then if your body is always in that fight, flight, freeze mode, then your physical body over time is trying to operate from this stressed out state to a point it breaks, or it gets overcome by this sickness, and something needs to be dispelled or expelled before it can regulate back to normal. So what I have noticed is I was so deeply trying to fight, unconsciously, clearly, because that was not my conscious intention. I was trying to fight so hard what was meant for me. And why was I doing that? Glad you asked. Because as much as I wanted to move forward, I was simultaneously being overridden by a deep fear of, I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to screw it up. And it'll be my fault. It'll be my fault if my kids' lives change. And it might not be if it hurts them, then that'll be my fault. It'll be my fault if I do well and I screw it up. It'll be my fault if I'm happy, but other people are not. I'll screw it up if I overlook something or don't have the awareness. That'll be my fault. And so that overrid the desire to actually, allow what's meant for me. And so here I am, just with this inner fight going on. And where did that, it's all my fault, come from, and I'm going to screw it up? It came from my childhood. And this isn't a blame game by any means. It's just calling it for what it is. Everyone's just coming from their own, mum and dad did not want this to be a trauma that is affecting me now. And God, we have no idea what our words, how they'll be received. But it was my fault, or I'm going to screw it up, was something that, whether it was said directly or the energy behind what was said, that was what I heard. And that was something that I picked up myself for whatever reason. And so I really heard that across these 4 days. And I really understood how much I had been wanting to move forward in life, in my career, but then simultaneously I didn't want to screw it up, wanting to move forward in relationships, but simultaneously didn't want to screw it up if that affects my kids in a negative way, wanting to move forward to the next level of wealth, but then also don't want to screw it up because what if that doesn't work out? So it applied in so many facets and so many areas of my life that I've been fighting against myself internally. And I know so many people have resonated with this, because I saw it on my Insta, where underneath I don't want to screw it up, or it's going to be my fault, there is underneath that very fundamental fear of, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough, I'm not worthy enough. So this unworthiness was just coming out hard and fast. And so when we put ourselves in these situations, let me just also pre-frame too, like anyone who's embarking on this journey and putting themselves in containers and spaces where they're going in and they're doing some deep diving through their subconscious and they're doing the inner work and accessing really vulnerable spaces that they've protected themselves from and barricaded themselves from. You are emotionally going to the front line and you are surfacing up, facing front on what you've buried, what you had feared to expose. You are like taking the oxygen out of what had been fueling you. And it's a lot for your nervous system in so many different ways to really face these fears. And so when that happens, your physical body, your immune system will be compromised because it is still under threat. It's still stressed out as you're actively surfacing up these emotions deliberately in order to get through them and neutralize them and integrate them. But when you're in it, your immune system is down. You're stressed from experiencing these emotions that have been so activated within you. Like you're crying more than likely, you're having these emotional outbursts. Maybe you're feeling anger that you've never allowed yourself to fear. Maybe you're having conversations with people that you feared so much because you didn't want the confrontation, but now it's here, or now you know that that's the way through to the other side. And it's still not easy though. It's freaking terrifying. And so when you're doing that, you are compromising your immune system, which means that you can be more susceptible to things like this. The physical manifestation of your fears, the physical manifestation of your pain and your struggle and your unworthiness. It comes through. And so often don't confuse this as like, shit, I'm not strong enough or I'm weak. Like, look, I'd rather just avoid it because like this doesn't seem worth it. Please know that this is the gift, like on some messed up level. This is a gift. This is a gift because your body and your subconscious is right there in front of you showing like, hey, you commanded, I don't want to fight for what's meant for me anymore. So I'm showcasing every which way in which you have been fighting and why. Why you've been fighting is because you've believed underneath that it's going to be your fault. You're going to screw it up. You're going to upset people. You're going to disappoint people. You're going to really hurt people that you care about. And so as much as you want to succeed, or you want to move forward, or you want to allow and claim what you deserve and desire, simultaneously you don't. And so the fight is being revealed and you're seeing it from the conscious lens. You're gaining awarenesses around it. You're experiencing like it's happening right now, which means your your nervous system is also experiencing it. And so by allowing it to surface up and by literally not fighting against it, you're getting through it. You're healing it. You're bringing up what had been deeply buried. And by bringing it up, it's not having that hold on you. It's not having that effect. You're setting it free. You're literally liberating yourself from what you've deeply buried. Because don't kid yourself to keep it there forever. It's never going to just stay put in this nice compact box. It'll keep bubbling and it'll keep surfacing. And so I did know that this to take place. And the intensity of how sick I got, I was like, damn, I was really putting up a fight. And so now what does that mean moving forward? I actually don't consciously know. What I do consciously know, actually, I will say, is I am more softened. I am more surrendered. I am way more clear, like mentally, and my emotions aren't in this frazzled kind of state. When I think about I don't want to fight it anymore, I just feel this space of ease. And it's almost like it's just I put the weapons down to myself. I'm just waving the white flag. I see myself embrace myself, and hand in hand, we're moving forward. And so moving forward doesn't feel as much of a fear. Not that I consciously knew it at the time. I just knew that it felt a little like not in alignment. And so if you feel like there's this friction or this resistance, there is a beautiful opportunity of understanding that's taking place. Because let me just reassure you with this. Every question has an answer. So when you ask your body, why am I fighting for what's meant for me? It will show you. If you command an intention, it wants that there. It wants it for you. It doesn't discriminate, or it's like, cool, if this is what she's want, cool, let's give her that. But I'm also going to show what's been in the way between the version of you now and that outcome. And it doesn't always feel pretty. It doesn't always feel pretty, sound pretty right now. And it's not always experienced in an easy way, but it's leaning into it in that uncertainty and in that area of yuckness, because it's showing you this for a space to move through, to grow through, and to succeed and conquer on the other side. So if you're experiencing a physical manifestation of something that you chose, that you didn't choose consciously, let's just say, ask yourself, what emotions have you been feeling, if you're aware, and see what comes through. And after the emotions, can you just check in what you think about those emotions, and with those thoughts, what do you believe about those thoughts? Because everything is all interconnected and feeding into one another. So generally the physical manifestation is the final, that's the matter manifestation of what we believe and what we think and what we feel, whether we're conscious of it or not. So I'm going to leave you with that. I feel like I'm getting more nasally as the minutes go on, but I would love to hear how you've received this episode and how you've experienced something similar to this. I would love to hear it. Please send me a DM. And if you're wanting to really understand yourself on a deeper level, like, it was so great to be in this immersion, because I got to really see like how much this is needed in so many people's lives. Like, understanding ourselves on a deeper subconscious level is the key for so many of us to really catapult and to clear all the stuff that you've been carrying that's forming these physical ailments. But there's a disconnect in thinking that has impacted this, or that has resulted in this physical symptom and this pain and this struggle. Imagine when you can take your power back and you can relieve yourself of that pain, get your vitality back, get your energy back, get your physical peak form back, and not carry the emotional shit at the same time. Like, that is the dream in life. So I would love to hear what you've taken from this. Please share this episode around. Please subscribe. I still have my initial consult and session for $111. This is where we can really start to move through. We're going into your subconscious at rapid speeds to really unpluck what has been holding you back, to realign. And yeah, things will come up, emotions, physicalities, all the things, in service of you integrating without the stuff you buried unconsciously. And that is what I'm all about. So I'm sending you all the love, all the health, and I look forward to another episode with you next week. Take care of you.
Audience exclusive.